Good morning, everyone. Good morning, members. Thank you for being here. We have delayed just a couple of moments here due to the fact we heard the elevator was stuck, and some folks were on the elevator out there. So we were just waiting on that just momentarily here. In hopes those will come, but we have a quorum in the room, and so we'll begin with some of the proceedings. Again, welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. Looking forward to some good work today. Let me talk just for a minute. We've had some very good discussion on these three bills that we want to look at today. Let me remind members that it's important to be present and voting at committee meetings for us. There was, I know you can watch it online, and many of you did, but we also need you in those meetings as well, so please watch that. I know we were off earlier this week, so we changed our schedule some, and it's not our normal schedule, but when you get towards this close and getting close to crossover, just know there will be times that we have to move our meeting times, and when there's situations such as what happened last week, we do have to move those meeting times. But wanted to say that, and let's begin, if I can. Representative Clark, do you mind opening us with prayer this morning? What number are you down there? 28?
28.
There you go.
Let's bow our heads. Dear Lord, I just thank you for today. Thank you for these bills I have before us. Just thank you for this committee. Everyone who showed up today, God, just be with us today. Be with us this weekend, God. Help us to pass good legislation and to always put the kids first. Just continue to bless our state, our people, and we just thank you for today. In the name of the Lord Jesus, amen.
Thank you, sir. Let me commend the members on working very closely and very good with their constituents and refining their bills, your bills, and the efforts that you're putting forth to improving the situation of students in your district, your area, and in this state. Let me also remind you, as I like to continually do, let's spend a lot of time in our discussions about safety and literacy, and you're doing a very good job with that. I want to pat you on the back, so continue those efforts. We are in the middle of the game here, so let's finish strong, as we used to say in a previous job of mine. I think we're going to start up with, or we will, with House Bill 579. Representative Barrett, would you come up to the table here and read your LC number to begin, if you would, for me? Let me get your mic on here. See if that's worked. Yep.
Okay. Yes, sir. House Bill 579. That's LC 491780S. And we do have another LC per your instructions that I prepared with one little change, but I'll work off of LC 491780S.
Okay.
Which is the one that we passed out of subcommittee.
Perfect. All right, you have the floor.
So LC 491780S is House Bill 579 makes a few small changes to the Georgia Special Needs Scholarship Program. This is neither an expansion of the program, and the changes are to help improve the program for parents and school administrators and the Department of Education. It also increases the level of transparency in the program. In addition to some cleanup language that was recommended by the Department of Education and by Legislative Council, it would do the following things. It would put parameters on the existing special needs program scholarship calculator to provide scholarship estimates in a more timely manner, enabling families to plan better. It authorizes the Department of Education to provide scholarship payments via electronic transfer rather than requiring them to mail checks to the schools. The process currently is cumbersome, presently requiring parents to go to the school, endorse checks, things like that. So it just streamlines things, brings us into the 21st century. It also gives further definition to the scholarship amount appeal process established in 2021. This would clarify that parents may appeal the scholarship amounts when services are included in a student's IEP, but not in the student count calculation. It also increases transparency into the program, providing even more information on the students who are in it, and it will also help parents by providing more information on the types of conditions that participating schools are able to serve. You'll note that in this substitute, we have included language to include in the annual report, including information on the economic status of families utilizing the scholarship. This requires no additional burden on the department, as it is information that's already collected and available. And I actually spoke a little bit out of turn because that actually speaks to the substitute, so sorry about that. That being said, I'd appreciate your favorable consideration. It passed out of subcommittee on Monday with no dissenting votes.
All right, Representative, thank you very much. I was able to view the discussion, very good discussion, and I appreciate your willingness to work with the committee on this bill. I see a few questions, and I'm going to take them in order by which I see them popping up. Who is number 11 down there? Representative Evans.
Yes, thank you. Good morning, Chair. And good morning. Thank you for bringing this bill. At our last meeting, we discussed adding one amendment, and the representative and I were he can speak to this, but I think we were in agreement. And so at the should I discuss that now, or can I bring that up now, or
No,
would you like me to wait?
let us work to that,
Okey-doke.
and I'll tee you up
All
when
righty.
it's time. Then I understand that, but at the appropriate time, I'll
Thank you
call
so
you,
much.
Representative Evans. Let's continue with the questions. Who is 15? Is that? Where's 15? Representative Carter, is that you down there?
Yes, thank you. And I don't have the original, I have the substitute in front of me, so I may need to wait because my question is in the substitute. Unless you have the substitute, right? I have the substitute. I have LC 1780S. Oh, so this is the one we're discussing. This isn't the substitute. Oh, okay. So there's, I'm sorry, I didn't go back to the line, but there's a line that talks about a parent of a student, I guess if they weren't approved for the scholarship prior to the school year, something I was reading in here. So if a student isn't currently approved for the scholarship, there's language in here that I was reading, if I read that correctly, that they would be able to qualify for the scholarship in mid-year. It talks about the count.
The intent of that is if for example, if a student is included in the count in March, for example, and then there's an expedited IEP in April, the services included in that IEP would not have been included in that at the count. And so the idea and the spirit is to try and help those families avail themselves of that additional resource for the scholarship.
Thank you.
Representative or Vice Chair Hilton.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Great bill. Thank you, Representative, for bringing it. I think my favorite part of it, line 68, 69, no later than July 1st, they've got to be provided with a calculation. I think I've heard just anecdotally some horror stories of people not getting calculated numbers till end of July, and kids have to make a decision on school, obviously, way before that. So appreciate that component of the bill. And, Mr. Chairman, at the appropriate time, I'd make a motion to pass.
Okay, and this is the appropriate time, as I see no other questions. We have a motion and a second. What we'll do at this time, then, we're going to tee you up, Representative Evans. Let me cut you. What number were you again? 11. Got you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to propose an amendment, and on line 87, we replace "and ethnicity" on line 87 with ethnicity, comma, and eligibility for free or reduced price meals under federal guidelines at the time each student commenced participating in the program.
Okay, let's have a little discussion on this amendment that you propose, Representative number 1.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I see the intent because I'm assuming we're trying to track free and reduced lunch. Is that, or people that qualify low income? What happens if someone qualifies in first grade under certain circumstances, or their circumstances change? Will they still be included in that number? Because always, or is this a yearly analysis?
This is the same, it's on this same line, so they'd be, this is just about the report. On the report, it will show how many of the, students, it'd be disaggregated by student age, grade level, gender, race, ethnicity, and free and reduced lunch students. At the beginning, and it says,
Okay.
at the time each student commenced at the beginning of each program. Yeah.
It's the at commence the program is what is throwing me off, I guess.
Hold on one second, Representative. Let's refer to, and both representatives, to Legislative Counsel for a minute and let him talk about how that count is done. We've got you on.
The language of the amendment would be, it would set it when that student begins participating in the program. So in other words, there would not be then an ongoing count. If the student is no longer enrolled in a public school, then I can only assume that tracking whether that student would continue to qualify for free or reduced lunch outside of the public school setting would probably present some administrative challenges, but those are policy questions.
I just don't know how accurate that data is going to be because circumstances change over time, and so that would be my only concern if we say it's I mean, I get it; it's a good intent, but that would be my concern that it won't be reasonable. I mean, it won't match up. You hit a bad economy, they qualify then. It's going to be different than if times are booming.
That's correct. I understand your reasoning there. Number 3 is that Representative Glaze?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chair. I was also a little concerned that as students enter into the private school, private schools don't have free and reduced lunch, the majority of them. So I'm not sure in their reporting how they would do that.
Yes, I Representative Glaze, and I'll defer to the author of the bill, but it would not apply to the private schools or the students attending.
Right. The information that's being requested is information I think that previously was in the report, and then it sort of somehow went away and it hasn't been in the last several years, and so it's not really creating a new burden or anything on the Department of Education. It's just sort of going back to information that has previously been available. That being said, it's more information. It's maybe not perfect information. It's a great point. I mean, how do you know what the status and the family changes are in the private schools? But still is additional information that maybe wasn't available before. So maybe not perfect, but maybe better than not having it at all.
Okay, thank you. What I'm going to do, we have an amendment on the table. Do we have a second? Okay, we do have a second. So we're going to vote on this amendment is what we're voting on that Representative Evans has recommended here to this bill. I'm going to entertain a couple of questions.
Mine isn't a question. I just want,
We have 2 other bills to do today,
Gotcha.
folks. So, yes.
I
number
was
15.
just asking if she could read reread the amendment?
We can definitely reread that before you vote. That's a good question. All right, were you doing that too?
Well,
Representative?
yes, Mr. Chairman, because I just wanted to make sure, and this would be a question for Mr. Walker, from continuity standpoint, should we not be using the words free and reduced lunch in this? I just heard a different phrase being used, and I just didn't know technically how that would work. So if the lady could please just reread her amendment, I think.
Okay, let's first read it, and then Legislative Council, if we could, will answer that question.
Thank you. Yes, and this language was provided by Legislative Council. Yeah. Okay, so on line 87, replace "and ethnicity" with ethnicity, comma, and eligibility for free or reduced price meals under federal guidelines at the time each student commenced participating in the program.
Okay, Michael, or excuse me, Legislative Council.
Yeah, free or reduced price lunch or free or reduced price meals are terms that we use in the code, so that's provided for under federal guidelines, so that's fairly standard language.
Okay, perfect. All right, let's do this if we can then. On the amendment, we're going to take a vote on the amendment presented to you today. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. No. Y'all gonna make me count it. Let's try it one more time. I want to hear you vote if I can. All in favor of this amendment say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. No. I think the ayes do have it. So we will let that bill move forward. Representative, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Oh, wait a minute. I got to vote on it. Now, we got to vote on it. You're right. We got the amendment. See, this is why this person is so important next to me, as y'all saw right there. About stepped off the plank, didn't I? Okay. We do have a motion and a second, so now we are going to vote on the amended bill, then, is what we're voting on. Group. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Ooh, good job, Representative. Let's move that on. It does pass.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, ladies
Thank you.
and gentlemen.
All right, we're going to try to keep the train rolling if we can at HB 1104. Representative Crawford, if you would come up to the table. We will let you present, and I believe you have handouts included that are being passed to you members for his bill right now. So for time purposes, we're going to let you roll.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you, members of the committee, for allowing me to sit before you and present this legislation. Before you should be LC 491783S. That was the legislation, the substitute that was heard in subcommittee. This bill is simple. It seeks to address mental health risks for student athletes. And what it's going to do is aggregate already existing mental health information from our departments like Georgia Department of Behavioral Health to be shared, posted, and reviewed by athletic associations, student athletes, parents, and coaches. It's going to require athletic associations to post mental health information on websites, schools to post, share, and review this information with student athletes and parents and coaches to review videos on mental health. And I can briefly go through the bill. If you look in section 1 of this bill, the bill references mental health screening. Before you are 2 current pre-participation evaluation forms that are used by Georgia High School Association and Georgia Independent Athletic Association. If you look at both forms, under patient health questionnaire on the first page of both forms, there's few questions. Those questions are questions geared towards mental health screening. So this legislation in Section A takes into account the current mental health questions and adds that into the language of Section 1. It does not require any additional mental health screening beyond these questions. However, under paragraph D, it does allow for the school boards to update the form from time to time when it sees fit by consulting with the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Department of Behavioral Health. Section 2 of the bill is a list of definitions that have already been introduced in the Georgia Civil Code. In Section B, which is the crux, is that it asks athletic associations to post on its websites material to inform student athletes, parents, and coaches about the importance of mental health. The athletic associations that they already post at this point, information on things such as concussion protocols and cardiac arrest awareness on their website, so we'll be asking them to add additional information on mental health. Someone that is here to speak on this in support is the Executive Director of Georgia High School Association, Dr. Robert Hines, and he will discuss what they already do and how this can be added. Athletic associations can work with organizations like the Department of Behavioral Health, whom I've communicated with about this information. And so again, we're just going to ask that schools provide this information to student athletes, parents, and coaches. Lastly, we're going to ask our coaches to view mental health awareness videos. Currently, coaches already review courses on subjects like concussion protocol, and while that's important, I'll just use myself as an example. I ran track and field. Concussions are not really prevalent in track and field, but mental health is something that every student athlete is going to have to deal with. And so we want to be as proactive as we possibly can. And I'll just end with this, that this is extremely important and unique to me because I was a former student athlete at the high school and in the collegiate level. And data from the National Federation of High School Associations says that student athletes face higher stress levels and more anxiety than traditional student athletes. It's pretty simple. A traditional student has a bad day, they go home. A student athlete has a bad day, he or she is expected to perform at some point in time later on. Very personal story, I had a high school teammate that took his own life his senior year. And a lot of it was because of stress. I believe that had we had something in place like this, then perhaps we could have saved him. And so I'd like to, again, use all of the information that we have to connect the dots so that we can inform our student athletes and our coaches so that we can try to save lives. And I'll yield for any questions that you may have.
Let me do this first, as you've asked Dr. Hines to come up. We'll allow his testimony. Representative, first of all, good job with this bill. I look at it as a good thing for our students in general. So many of them are involved in extracurricular type activities. Also, it's in line with our first goal, safety, in my mind for these students here. So thank you with that.
Thank you.
Let me just turn the podium over for the presentation that you wanted from Dr. Hines.
I'll be brief, but we support the bill. It's been a pleasure working with Representative Crawford. You know, he certainly is thinking about student safety and doing the right thing. And, you know, his data and his efforts to work with stakeholders has really been spot on. But the bill actually comes down to about four things, you know, physical form, which we've already got, and I've worked with people on this committee with that form. And we like the form of the way it is right now. Appreciate him agreeing with the mental health questions that are currently on that form. Of course, we can update that as we need to as time goes forward. The information for meetings is there, and required coach education is there. The Georgia High School Association can take care of all of those things at zero cost. There's a course through the National Federation of High Schools that is free to our association, that deals with mental health and suicide prevention. I've took the course this week just so I would be updated on that thing. It is very good. It's designed for coaches, parents, and students to take, and we can offer that for free. There's no cost to anybody, and much like we talked about when we did the Sudden Cardiac Awareness Prevention Act, who could be against appropriate mental health and working to keep our kids safe? So we stand in support with Representative Crawford in the bill.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Hines, and thank you for taking extra time to educate yourself and to work with the representative here. I have a couple of questions for you that we'll entertain as we get going. I believe, is this Representative Maynard? Are you up number 24?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for bringing the bill, Representative. Sorry about your friend that you lost in high school. I've spoken several times up here. I lost my little brother to suicide. So every year I have tried to do something to advocate for suicide prevention. So I love the fact that we are moving the bill in this committee, because over the past several years, these exact same questions for suicide prevention screening were worrisome to some, because some people think that if you talk about suicide prevention, that means that it's going to make a child commit suicide. And that studies show that that's not the case. So I am in support of the bill because suicide prevention is extraordinarily important, not just amongst our athletes, but all students in the system. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative. Is it Chairman Dubnik, number 16?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'll direct this question to you if I could. If you'll join me on line 75 and 76. And this was a question that I raised with the bill author and just now with Legislative Counsel. We mentioned that these coaches will be required to watch an approved video. And I'm going to pause there and say I believe a picture's worth 1,000 words and a video's worth 1,000,000. And to Dr. Hines' point, I think it's powerful to put our coaches in front of this video. However, it says if the video is available. If the video is not available, then they've satisfied the requirement of, if I understand it, Mr. Walker, if the video is not available, then that satisfies the requirement of not having to watch that. And so I'm asking out loud how we can address that.
Okay, that's a good question, Chairman, and will Legislative Counsel, you mind responding?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Dubnik, there are essentially two requirements in paragraph 1 of subsection D at lines 75 through 78. One is the video, and then the second component of those requirements are the guidelines and relevant materials approved by the Athletic Association. So the provision there in paragraph 2 at lines 79 and 80 contemplates each of those requirements, but clearly with the if available caveat for the video. If there is no video available, then you would satisfy the requirements just by reviewing the materials. And if the video is available, then you would satisfy the requirement by doing both things.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And Mr. Chairman, I'm in full support of the bill, and I don't want to be accused of being on the first floor in the Judiciary Room by any stretch of the imagination, but I believe that video should be part of the process. And I don't know how we accomplish that, but that's personal opinion. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman, and I understand that. Seeing no more questions, what is the will of the committee? Okay, I've heard a do pass, and now I've heard a second. We'll vote on this bill then for Representative sitting at the podium. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Good bill, Representative. Congratulations.
Thank
Keep
you.
the momentum.
Thank you.
Okay, we are going to try to keep going on as I think all of the members are aware that we do start the session today at 9 o'clock. We have one more bill to hear. I have 8:35. So let's move on, if we can, to House Bill 127. And I see Representative heading that way.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, committee.
Read your LC number, please.
It is LC 491727S.
Perfect. That's what we have. All right, you have the floor.
Thank you. We heard this bill in subcommittee, and in the folders during subcommittee, there was a letter from Dr. Williams, who is the superintendent of Gainesville City School System. He helped to edit the language that I had, and his edits were extremely important because out of all of the school systems in the state of Georgia, Dr. Williams has one of the most diverse non-native English-speaking community of children in the state. Right now, it is federal law for schools to provide interpretation services to children with special needs. Currently, that is not happening in all school systems, and non-native English speakers from around the state of Georgia drove up to 4 hours or more to this committee the other day to basically cry out to us to say, we need help. So imagine if you have a child with a special need. You are in the IEP meeting, and you do not understand what the people are telling you. If anybody has ever been into an IEP meeting, as a parent, because I have been into those meetings, as a parent, you are anguished, depending on what the disability may be. It could be a mental health disability. It could be a physical disability. You are anguished, and that is the environment that you have to advocate for your child. That is the means by you getting exactly what your child needs. That is part of the IEP process. If you do not speak English, you do not understand what they are providing, and you also are not able to say to the people in the IEP meeting what you need. What does your child need? And so this simply goes along with the federal law that interpretation services must be provided by way of providing rules and regulations to implement that. And I am happy to take any questions.
Okay, we will begin with, first of all, thank you very much. I think a needed bill again, Representative, so thank you for your attention to this, and I appreciate you contacting Superintendent to discuss, especially one with as many non-English speaking students as that one you mentioned has. Vice Chair Hilton, you're 21.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is awesome. I mean, as a parent of a child with a disability who I go through an IEP every year, what keeps me up awake at night is we're English speaking. My wife's an attorney. We've got all the tools and resources to navigate it, and it's still difficult for us, and we shed a lot of tears, and it's not easy. I can only imagine if English is not your native language, and so thank you for this. You mentioned it's in federal law, so explain to me a little bit more, flush out the need for this. Is it sort of just make further clear that we have to do this, or? Yeah.
Exactly. So right now it is federal law, but within our code, it did not say we had to have a procedure to do it. So now if you have in statute, if a procedure is required, now it will be done.
Okay.
And this was also, I ran it through the Georgia Department of Education, and it also does not conflict with any federal law.
Okay.
The way it's written.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the appropriate time.
I believe it is the perfect time, Vice Chair. What is the will of the committee? Okay. What's that? Oh, you're right. We did not have a second yet. I tell you what, I knew I'd make a mistake sometime in my life. I've made two today. We have popped up a question due to my hesitancy of not
Sorry,
doing
Chairman.
it right all of a sudden. Floor Leader Wade.
Just to clarify, I am in support of the legislation. I know the superintendent of which you speak, and they have an awesome school system. They're doing great things. My question is just to clarify within the department and for school systems, how are they going to pay for it, and will there be? I'm assuming and hoping that they'll contemplate the opportunity for technology to be used in situations in which an interpreter might not physically be able to be in more than one place at a time, but they could use that as an option. I don't think there's anything that would limit that, but I just want to figure out those two pieces just for our knowledge as to, there's going to be some kind of an expense, and how's that been contemplated in the bill?
Yes, we did think about that, and with certain dialects there are certain dialects within different languages. And so within this bill, if you look on page 3, it gives options. The school system is not required to do one particular option. For example,
What line are you working off of?
starting at 47. And so the family may decide they want to bring in their own interpreter. They can use a language line. They can use a friend. They can use another student if they want to. They can use a child in their family. We're really trying to make it as open and accessible as the family needs.
Yes, I know that you want to respond to that.
So for the cost, it's required federally. So how they're currently providing that cost, I'm not sure. If someone's here from DOE.
We'll let DOE up. Let me get your podium mic on your own.
Sure. Because school districts receive federal funds for that very purpose, and they have to comply with that, they would use the federal funds that they receive to meet that requirement, or they should be.
Okay. Thank you. We're going to entertain another one. 15, is that Representative Carter?
It is, but he sat down before I could ask him a question. With what you just said, it's already funded through the federal, so it's something that's already in the law. Having the state of Georgia codify it, what difference would it make if it's already a service being provided and funded?
Sure. As Representative Mayer mentioned, the one thing that's not in federal law that would be required are certain procedures, and the procedural part can be outlined. Many times things in federal law, there's a lot of latitude as to how a school district's going to do that. So this would codify that. It doesn't conflict at all with what the requirement is.
Thank you very much. Seeing no more questions, we have a do pass. So do we need a second? Oh, there we go. We're getting it right. Thank y'all for keeping me straight. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, like sign. Your bill passes. Thank you, Representative. Good job.
Thank you.
Let's keep the movement on the rules. Thank y'all for the meeting.